Thinking about expansion, most brands die trying to leave their hometown. Supreme owns New York, Bape locked down Tokyo, but Pink Dolphin was a tricky one. They cracked the code that nobody else could figure out. They didn't just survive expanding from San Francisco to LA, and we are talking about two of the most competitive streetwear markets inside the country. They actually dominated both cities at the same time, at their absolute peak, a $20 million valuation, while somehow making customers in each city feel like Pink Dolphin was their hometown brand that just happened to make it big. I want to break down exactly how they pulled this off, because this isn't just some feel-good success story. This is a system you can actually study and adapt for your own brand. Pink Dolphin used a dual city strategy, and it was built on three main pillars. Culture positioning, how they made each city feel like they belonged there from day one. Collaboration anchors, which involved them using partnerships to literally anchor themselves in each market. And flagship exclusivity, making their physical stores feel absolutely essential even when everyone else was going digital. This eventually hurted them in the end. This topic that we're going to discuss is how they expanded from one city to the next. Alright, let's jump back to 2008. The economy is completely tanking. And I mean, this is the feeling very similar to what we're dealing with right now. Everyone was cutting back on spending. Businesses was dying left and right. And this is when a 17-year-old kid from the Bay Area named Cena decided that this is a perfect time to start a clothing company. His partner in crime, Young L from the rap group The Pack, who was barely in his 20s but had some solid industry connections already. In fact, Pink Dolphin was originally supposed to be the name of a rock band that never happened. Little B, also from The Pack, came up with the name, but instead of music, they turned it into fashion. So their very first drop was 4 colorways of a simple promo tee, 50 shirts each. Basically a $200 total investment. That's it. They marketed these as limited edition, but here's the thing. The reality was that they literally could not afford to make it any more than that. This was just broke teenagers trying to figure out how to start a business. But you know what? They sold out. The question is how. They had a built-in music audience from day one. The co-founder Young L and Cena was already plugged into the Bay Area rap and youth culture. That scene regularly blended music and streetwear, which prompted demand around their early releases. They also understood how to use early social networks and basic e-commerce to push limited drops to fans who were already following the music. Every single penny of profit from that first drop went straight into the next release. They were basically bootstrapping themselves drop by drop, building their war chest one small victory at a time. Now, these weren't seasoned entrepreneurs with master degrees and business plans. Cena was literally getting his design education from making MySpace layouts for money. Young L was learning manufacturing by trial and error, cold calling local screen printers and hunting down Chinese suppliers on Alibaba. And when they couldn't figure out how to mass produce their tie-dye hoodies, they literally made them by hand in Cena's parents' front yard. But here's what could have gone completely wrong at this stage, and why most brands fail at this very moment. Most founders try to face scarcity, and customers see right through it. The reason why scarcity worked was because they already built up a small community. As what I said, the Bay Area rap and youth culture, they own a space, and to be honest, when you're creating your own space, it's not really about how many people you gather. It's about who you keep out from that space. Without boundaries within the group you are looking to form, if you invite the wrong people within that group, you can actually end up losing weight and dilute your community in the process. And streetwear customers are very savvy. They can smell fake authenticity from a mile away, so you shouldn't even play that type of game. Look, most streetwear brands don't fail because of weak designs. They fail because nobody's actually talking about them. You might have 10, 20, even 30,000 followers on Instagram, but if nobody's mentioning you outside your city, you're stuck. And that's the real problem. Followers don't equal respect. You can have numbers and still feel invisible. And this is why we help streetwear brands go from being local favorites to being known outside the city. This service is built for the brands that are tired of being slept on, the ones ready to get their name moving, talked about, and recognized beyond their block. If your brand already holds weight at home, but you're ready to be talked about outside your city, this is your shot. Sign up for our community strategy service to get your brand specifically positioned into another region. Hit the link in the description below, because because we only work with 4 brands per quarter. To get back to the video, this brings us to step 2, which is prove yourself before going big. So if we fast forward to 2010, this is when everything started to change for Pink Dolphin. Karmaloop, which was basically the Amazon of underground fashion at the time, picked up the brand, and suddenly Pink Dolphin was competing in the same digital space all these well-known established brands were, with more money and more experience than them. The Goodwood New York City collaboration that same year proved they could create real buzz. Do you guys remember wooden necklaces in 2010? They were absolutely everywhere, and Pink Dolphin's branded version of these necklaces sold out like lightning. But this was just a warm-up. So if we move on to the following year, this is when Pink Dolphin really became Pink Dolphin. Cena, the co-founder, created this iconic waves logo that would define the brand's entire visual identity for years to come. More importantly, they stopped being just another t-shirt line and started releasing actual collections. We're talking denim sets, varsity jackets, snapbacks, the full package that customers expected from a real streetwear brand around this time and era. A childhood friend of Cena's, Nima Kalia, fresh out of college with a finance degree, entered the picture, the business mind they needed to actually scale this type of operation properly. Because young L and Cena had this creative vision and the street cred locked down, but an understanding of logistics, marketing strategy, and expansion planning was missing. By this point, Pink Dolphin had grown from 2 kids with $400 to a legitimate operation with over 20 people on staff. They were ready to make their biggest, most audacious move yet, but they could have easily rushed this next step and destroyed everything they built. A great thing to remember as a founder is build your foundation rock solid before you even think about building an empire. After you figure this out, the next step would gradually be to plant your flag where it matters. So 2012 rolls around and Pink Dolphin announces they're opening their first flagship store. But they didn't just pick any random location to test the waters. Nah, they went straight for 420 North Fairfax Avenue in Los Angeles, right in the absolute heart of streetwear most competitive district. We looking at the same block where kids camp out for Supreme drops, where every single major brand is fighting tooth and nail for attention. The level of confidence that this took is just insane. Most successful online brands will test the waters with a pop-up or maybe even a smaller location in a strategic neighborhood, which is what I advocate for as well. But Pink Dolphin said, nah, we're going straight to streetwear's Mount Rushmore, and we're planting our flag right next to Supreme. So inside their store opening, they brought custom cars wrapped in their signature wave patterns. Of course, they had celebrity endorsements, started from Kid Ink to Omarion and rising Bay Area stars. Even Chris Brown's brand, Black Pyramid, wanted to collaborate with them at the time. That success gave them the credibility they needed for their next move. In October of 2013, just over a year after they established themselves in South Los Angeles, Pink Dolphin made a move that absolutely stunned the entire industry. Instead of expanding to New York or Miami, they went back home to San Francisco. And speaking of expansion, the opening weekend was absolutely madness. 1431 Hyatt Street, right in the heart of the Upper Hyatt. Hundreds of people lined up around the block. In this XXL interview, Cena admitted they probably should have opened the San Francisco flagship sooner because the Fairfax store had given them tremendous brand exposure. But honestly, the timing of the San Francisco store was absolutely perfect. They had proven they could compete with the big boys in LA, but this move for them meant they were coming home as conquering heroes. You should establish your presence at home first and then strategically move out. Pink Dolphin, in my opinion, made a mistake here. They chased a formula that most people do by targeting cities because the opportunity is greater, meaning it's a more populated city, bigger area, more customers to attract is the mindset that they was thinking. Conquer your background first and let everyone know you are inside your territory. Then from there, you can use your momentum to move to the next region strategically. Moving to a big city can just put you in an amount of debt you may not be able to get out from, and it just gives you a more organic, natural feeling than just chasing what's hot at the moment. Make your stores feel essential. February 15, 2014. Pink Dolphin's San Francisco store is packed wall to wall. I Am Sue, one of the Bay Area's hottest rising rappers at the time, is there in person for the launch of his exclusive capsule collection with Pink Dolphin. 8 pieces, long sleeve tees, zip hoodie with removable sleeves, jogger pants, and camo bucket hats. The scarcity value of it was that it was only available at the San Francisco store and only from 12 to 4 p.m. that day. This was a brilliant solution to attract and grow to another city on the West Coast. Most founders think about collabs as marketing tools, just ways to get your name out there and maybe move some product. But this brand understood that collabs could be something way more powerful. They could be city anchors, meaning a way for a brand to really root itself in a new city. It's not just about selling clothes. It's about becoming part of the culture and the community you're trying to build. By creating exclusive drops that launched first at their flagship stores, they gave people an actual reason to physically show up, to be part of a collective in the Bay Area instead of just buying a product online. And because it was representing for the Bay Area specifically, it felt completely authentic to the local scene. Expand smart now. Why? Alright, so now it's November 2018. Complex Con, Long Beach, the ultimate streetwear festival where thousands of enthusiasts gather for exclusive drops, brand activations, and cultural conversations. Pink Dolphin did not open a store in Long Beach. City presence didn't always mean expensive stores or long-term leases everywhere you see momentum in. Sometimes it just means strategic appearances at cultural moments where your entire target audience is already gathered inside that specific space. If you choose the right events, it can easily extend your reach without any overhead. And Complex Con was a great event and moment for them to get their brand known more. Alright, so looking back at Pink Dolphin's entire journey from 2008 to 2018, the pattern becomes crystal clear. This was not a random expansion. It was a careful sequence that honestly any brand could study and adapt inside their own situation today. Here's the complete system. Earn real respect from the ground up by keeping the drops truly limited by first building up your space. And then once you build up your space and your group, keep your drops truly limited, not by using hype tricks, but by creating movements that make sense for the lifestyle that your brand live by and what you're attracted to from your own personal values. Next, leverage your early wins into bigger platforms and partnerships. Once you do that, create some pop-up shops here and there within your own city, then strategically move to another city. So if you're inside New York, go to Jersey. If you're in Jersey, Philadelphia is probably the next best bet. Once you do that and you see people really show up and pop out, plant your flag with big stores in cultural hub cities where the scene's already moving and where other people are not already posted up in. Lock down your hometown first. Earn love where you're from before taking it to bigger markets. Make your physical locations irreplaceable through exclusive experiences and collaborations. And then you can expand your reach through strategic event presence without overextending your resources. What Pink Dolphin accomplished within these 10 years was something most brands would never achieve in their entire existence. That's why I just can't really bash them and make fun of them. They made geography work for them instead of against them. Think about it. Most brands either stay local and completely limit their growth potential, or they expand nationally and lose all the cultural authenticity that made them special inside the first place. From the time they were around, they found this third option that nobody else had figured out. They became a regional powerhouse that felt deeply local and impressively scaled at the same time. Sure, they're not in the conversation for streetwear heavyweights or maybe all-time greats. I feel like most people can still learn from this story. The fall came from the same place that destroyed most brands, which is just changing consumers' tastes, industry drama, and the constant challenge of staying culturally relevant in a culture that moves at internet speed. But their approach to multi-city expansion still feels complete. So here's my challenge to you all. What culture are you going to create when you get to your second city? Because that's what separates the brands that scale from the brands that fall off. Choose wisely and carefully. Let me know inside the comment sections. Which one is it? Alright, y'all. This is Lee from No Studios. Till next time, I'm out of here. Peace.